Welcome to The Real Authority. Now, before getting into it, I thought I might as well provide a bit of advice for aspiring marketeers, especially in the movie department. I know I'm not no expert, and this advice may fall on deaf ears or may not be accurate, but as an audience member, you really have to think to yourself, what draws me to any particular movie? Like, there are a lot of things that can draw a person into it, like the star power, but the argument can be made that its marketing is absolutely vital in order for a film to succeed. Especially the theatrical trailers. A lack of that shows either a lack of confidence in the movie or really cautious as to whether or not it's going to be received positively. But you also have to make sure you get the word out beyond like one simple trailer and beyond like a few clips on YouTube. Like, you really have to draw in the viewer. For example, air the trailer before a popular movie. Like, I feel like it's as easy as that, and people will be more aware of your movie as a result. Like Slanted, for example. I know it's like a much smaller film. It's coming out next month, and I was kind of nervous that they might not meet the release date, so I'll probably fall victim to the same thing that happened to Distant, in which it just kind of gets shelved. Luckily, a trailer did come out, but that's what I mean. It doesn't matter how good your trailer is. You really have to push the point home that this is a movie worth seeing. Like, even if you know it's not good, at least try to sell it as something looking decent. Take Love Hurts, for example. I was excited for it. Turned out to be one of the weaker movies of last year, but you get what I mean. Don't make the mistake of underselling a movie, especially if you've spent a high budget, even a decent budget. Like, if you want your movie to gross a decent amount, you gotta get the word out there that this is a movie that you should watch. On a completely unrelated note, Psycho Killer just came out, and they've been advertising the crap out of it. I've become sick and tired of hearing about it because I really didn't have high hopes for it in the first place, but I mean, hey, at least they got the word out. Simple premise is basically this detective played by Georgina Campbell. She witnesses the murder of her husband at the hands of the titular psycho killer. And it's basically like a road trip movie, sort of, in which she's basically trying to follow the tracks of the killer and hopefully stop him once and for all. Literally no expectations out the gate. Even the first trailer, I think the only trailer, didn't really sell me as it being something like potentially good. Say what you will about the writer of Seven. Seven is an absolute masterpiece, but just because you have the writer of a well-known film attached doesn't mean the screenplay is exactly going to do good. Although I like the film, I do feel David Koep's screenplay for Jurassic World Rebirth really didn't feel David Koep-y. That sounded weird, but my point exactly. But I was trying to be optimistic. At best, it would probably be like a mediocre film, but not one that I'd outright hate. Breaking the sarcasm, maybe I would be there asking 20th Century Studios why the hell they were not advertising this movie a lot, because it turned out to be good. No, I will admit, it has its positives. I feel like Georgina Campbell, as well as just the actors in general, but she's like the main star, or at least the movie's trying to make it seem like she's the main star. It's more or less the serial killers movie, or they're trying to balance it out in a like weird way. I don't know, but I feel like Georgina gives a good performance in a screenplay that really doesn't give her much. Well, not the screenplay, I think the movie itself. Like, you kind of care for her character, although the movie really doesn't give you a lot of reasons to do so. Like, she lost her husband, yes, but I feel like the development, that's the negatives. So hard to not get into the negatives with this movie, but she does good. The directing on the surface, yeah, it's adequately interesting, plus some shots look kind of cool. And there was at least 13 minutes worth of engaging stuff, at least with the kills. Like, I do feel the kills overall, the negatives. At least 13 minutes of this movie, I was surprisingly interested in seeing how this would turn out, but they do feel like outliers, but I will admit to the fact that the 13 minutes, you know what, I had a good time with them. Like, it's utterly ridiculous then, but I feel like said ridiculousness really leans into more of its strengths. And also 92 minutes, like, even though I have an issue with the pacing overall, I might as well get into that in a minute. Might as well start off the negatives with that. But I feel like if it were longer, it would simultaneously be the best and worst thing to happen to it. I guess getting into the negatives, the pacing, it kind of just is flatlined the entire runtime. I don't know, it just feels like the movie's trying so desperately to be an engaging cat and mouse thriller, but it doesn't really have the time to do so because it feels like they kind of rush it and leave stuff missing. Speaking of which, the screenplay, it's more a mixed element than an outright bad thing, but I do have to humor the fact that the screenplay was significantly altered to the point where stuff feels missing. And it's very abundant, especially with the character development. Like, say what you will about Georgina Campbell's performance, I do feel she needed a character that was worth getting invested in, seeing how she will overcome the killer. But she doesn't really have anything aside from the fact that she's a committed cop and she saw her husband die in the opening scene. And even then, it's not exactly like emotionally resonant. It's like just the setup to get through the setup. I read on Wikipedia that the screenplay was actually doing the rounds ever since 2007, which could explain why this movie really does feel so messy. Like, I'm not saying they didn't try to modernize it, because they do have modern day cell phones in it, but it really does feel like stuff is missing that I feel should have been included. Like, if you don't have a reason to care about the characters, why care about the movie? Like, gets ridiculous at points too. Like, the 13 minutes, as I mentioned, they do get ridiculous, but I feel like it takes it in stride and absolutely gives me a reason to say, yeah, I was entertained during those. But the rest of the movie tries to be so self-serious, and yet it tries to, like, pull many plot points out of its butt that it's kind of just ridiculous, but not to, like, a funny degree. It's more like you could have easily done something more profound and interesting with this concept, and it just feels like it's for naught. It's just a generic slasher movie that's trying to be Longlegs, even though Longlegs was more complex and more investing and had better characters than this movie. In fact, this movie does feel like the dollar store Longlegs, dollar store Hard Eyes. That's what the marketing, little of it, was kind of selling it as. And I feel like that's an accurate statement. I'm not going to waste too much time on it. I could have easily just reviewed the other movie I saw today, How to Make a Killing, because it is significantly more entertaining and much more just interesting than this movie. But you know, I had a fear that I was going to forget to talk about this at all, so this just feels like a cheap imitation, and honestly, I can't exactly recommend it. It was worth giving a chance, but they should have just sent it straight to Hulu. It probably would have done better than just being in theaters to what can possibly be a complete... Just spend your money on Gen Z Substance, or another McKenna Grace film that's coming out next week, Scream 7. Still excited for that TOP concert, though. Anyway, what was I talking about? Right, Psycho Killer, Real Authority rejects. 4 out of 10, might even go down to a 3. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn post notifications, and comment your thoughts on the movie if you decide to see it, and let me know what you prefer, Longlegs or Hard Eyes, or just any slasher movie in general. I don't know what question to ask. Are you excited for Slanted, Scream 7? Hopefully that latter movie's good. I'm just gonna end it there because, yeah, I'm rambling. All right, peace.